Welcome to Vivid Talk Live. I'm your host, Gwen Witherspoon. I am the Principal and Chief Visionary Officer of Adam Red and Atlanta Branding Agency. I'm a brand strategist and a Better Life Coach. Whew, Vivid Talk Live is all about your personal and professional development. I am here to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. I'm streaming live to Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, and you can watch the stream from those channels and on my website at gwenwitherspoon.com. Replays are available there as well as on IGTV and Twitter. Make sure you follow channels so you'll receive notifications when I go live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Who you are, what you're made of, and the work you've been given is unique. And the same should be said for your business, for the business that you are building. Tonight, I'm going to talk about 5 steps to consider as you engineer your corporate DNA. Please introduce yourself in the comments. Your questions are welcome. Katrina and Ron are helping me monitor the chat. Thank you so much for joining. Please share the link to invite your friends. Tell them about the replays, and we'll get into it right after. We got it? My executive producer is fixing something. Okay, make sure you follow at Gwen Fuchsias on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. And as always, I want to make sure you know exactly where to get all the information. Whoops, that's the wrong one. The channels, but it's easy. The easiest thing to do is really just to go to gwenwitherspoon.com, and that's where you're going to find all the instructions, everything about me. You will see the live stream on the show. On the website. There's a little delay, so it looks like it's not started on there yet. And the replay from last week. If you want to watch all the replays for all the videos, you just click on this "Watch the Replays" link, and that'll take you to every single one from one convenient, easy location. And of course, you can contact me here, find all my social accounts, everything you need to know is on gwenwitherspoon.com. So tonight, let me click over here. My lovely mouse sometimes wants to play games with me here. Let's see if we can get back over. I'm going to go here first, then come back here. There we go. Awesome. It's been a long time since I had a bunch of technical difficulties, so I guess I should be really grateful. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. I'm giddy about this subject because my team and I, we were talking this week about me, my brand, gwenwitherspoon.com. Or Gwen Witherspoon Coach. I have a tendency, like I'm probably like you do as well, to give all of my energy and effort to developing other people's brands. So when it comes time to develop my own, it's a challenge. So now, thankfully, I have a team, and they have basically surrounded me. Sometimes I felt, for a minute, I felt like it might have been an intervention, but I just had that emotional stuff going on inside of me about focusing on myself, right? But the one thing we talked about was developing a customer persona, like defining the profile of the customer, the ideal person that I'm trying to speak to. And clearly, I'm in branding. This is what I do for a living. Everybody knows, right, that we should be doing that. But I had to confess that for myself, it was really difficult to do. And just tonight, as I was preparing, what I realized was we all need to look at our businesses as if they are people. Think about it. The U.S. government has created a system where you can set up a corporation. So the word corporate really relates to the body, right? Like a corporate body. If you're in church, yeah, that's right, Katrina, it felt like an intervention for a minute. But, in your church, a church they talk about a body. The body the church group as a body. And so if you think about all of the analogies, all things that conjures up, um, you think about the fact that the word corporate, as I mentioned, is also relates to body, but your corporation, the reason that you want to create a corporation or incorporate your business is because you want the United States government to treat your business separately from you. If you are a sole proprietor, that means that the business, basically that you are the business, right? So if I have a problem with you, then according to the law, then I can sue you. If I have a dispute with you, I can go after your assets because I need you to make me whole, right? Because you are the sole proprietor of the business. So we incorporate so that we don't have liability. And what happens is the U.S. government then treats your new corporation as if it were a person, right? Isn't that something? I mean, just think about that. I know that's not some earth-shattering revelation, but I want in the space of branding what just because I haven't said it. Hi, honey, your hair though. It's because of Coco Bella, darling. Renee's talking about my hair, but yeah. So the government sees your corporation as a separate entity. They treat your company like it's a person. Okay, do you understand that? They treat your company like it's a person. So tonight's title is standing out in the crowd. How will you be recognized? And I really want to talk to you. I don't know if this is going to be a series. I kind of feel like it could be, but I want to talk to you about kind of engineering your corporate DNA. And I looked up. So if I'm a person, right? If my business is like a person, if I treat it that way, and I'm trying to engineer the DNA of my company, I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I explain? What does DNA do? So I just did a quick Google search. So I'm reading this kind of off the top, but it says DNA contains the instructions needed for an organism. I was thinking organization, for an organization to develop, survive, and reproduce. Think about that. So we want to engineer the DNA of your corporation. So even if you don't have your business legally incorporated, I want you to think of it as a corporation, as something separate from you. So if it's separate from you, you need to engineer you have to kind of write the instructions for how you want this organization, this corporation to develop, to survive, and to reproduce. Oh, that's powerful. And then to carry out these functions, DNA sequences must be converted into messages that can be used. It says to produce proteins because clearly it's talking about a human body, but this is it. We need to convert the sequences that we create, the instructions that we create for our company, for our corporation. We need to then convert that into messages that can be used to produce. That's fire right there. And it says, it talks about proteins, but the proteins are the complex molecules that do most of the work in our bodies. So the instructions that you develop for your organization have to be converted into messages so that they can be used to produce. That's really good. So when I talk about engineering your DNA, I mean, I'm told that I think I've heard that, no two people have the same DNA. Maybe unless they're twins, then maybe there's similarities. I'm not sure. But DNA, your fingerprint, you think about all the things that make you unique. Now, there's some scientists who say that our fingerprints are not really unique, but there are going to be very, 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 very few people in the entire earth of the hundreds of millions and billions of people that exist that would have the exact same fingerprint as you. So for the most part, we can say that, our fingerprints, our DNA, those things are unique to us. our email addresses, because no two people can have the exact same email address, right? So the things that make you unique as a person, we have to identify those things in our companies, in our businesses, that make them unique, make the company itself unique. And I think if you consider it in terms of like a human being, if your company was a human being, then how would it function? What would it look like? And how can you create it and set it up? What instructions can you write that you can turn into messages so that you can produce the results that you want to produce with your business? I, I don't know if that's a sexy topic or not, but it sure got me excited, because we need to get to the place where, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop relationships with people. Like we want to earn money, but the most successful companies are those that have connected in the most meaningful way with the most people, right? And it's easier to get like create a relationship with someone, with a customer, and get more business from them over time than it is to keep getting new clients, right? So it's a whole lot more energy to do that. Think about it in terms of your personal relationships. Who do you have a friend that you've had for decades? Is there someone that you went to school with that you still have a relationship with? So you can look at the nature of that relationship and that interaction. You may not even talk all the time or connect continually. Maybe you grew up, but you don't live together now. But those relationships are still solid and still firm in your life. Think about that with clients. That's what we're trying to develop with customers and clients. We're not trying to just be out here just hustling all over and all the time, like forever. What we're trying to do, and this is what inbound marketing, all of our modern marketing, social media, all of these things are designed to help us develop a long-term, valuable, collaborative relationships with people in the marketplace. But in order to do that, just like a person, you have to stand out in the crowd. There are millions of people in the earth. So how did you connect to that one friend? And what did it take for that relationship? How has that relationship changed you? How have you had to adjust? So if you think about that in terms of your business, how can you, so I started out talking about how we create a profile for the ideal customer. But I think before we do that, we have to kind of create our own profile. And I started looking up, I was thinking about like FBI, like crime scene investigation, because I've been watching way too many crime movies and shows. But when you think about a profiler, like what do? They show up to the scene and they start investigating, and they start trying to figure out what kind of person, what are the qualities of the person who would have done this. And I think we have to, from a business standpoint, be like that about our own companies and our own businesses. Now, if you are an independent, if you're a sole proprietor, like I mentioned, if you're a sole proprietor, maybe what you're doing is you're starting to really dig in and try to define yourself, like to describe yourself, so that you can create this profile for your company. Or maybe you're just starting out and you feel like you're not where you want to be, and maybe you want to create a profile of what you want your future self as a company to look like, right? But I want to present this idea that you have to, as a business owner, you have to create, you have to engineer the DNA of your corporation. You have to write the instructions that you can turn into messages that is going to help you produce. And I really like that first part. You want to help. And if you're producing, it's going to cause your organization, your company to develop, survive, and reproduce. Isn't that good? That's good. So there's 5 things. I looked up, I did a little quick study of like crime scene profiling. And I found like these 5 steps that I thought really could adapt it well to what I think could be the beginning of the process for you to help you figure this out for your own company, kind of to profile. So we're gonna be crime scene, not crime scene. No, we're not crime. We're gonna be professional profilers, right? Just for a moment. So the first step is analysis. So I've talked so many times about not comparing yourself to other people, not trying to be like other companies, not taking what they're doing and just, copying that exactly and trying to reproduce their results using, for yourself. Like I've talked about that and mentioned it so many times. But what I do want to talk about tonight is I want to offer comparison as a positive way to start trying to define your own corporate personality. And we do that. You want to compare where you want to go, where you want your company to be, how you want your company to show up, how you want it to be recognized in the marketplace in the crowd. You want to look at other examples so you can start to pull, qualities here and there, not looking at one company going, I just want to be exactly like them, because it's too obvious. Like when you jump up and you just try to be, I think it's so interesting that Apple, because I'm Apple, we're an Apple household, but Apple, because I'm a creative, so that's, I don't know how I could have been anything else. But we're an Apple household. I love how Apple set up their stores. But as soon as Apple did their stores the way they created them, then Microsoft went behind and did the exact same thing. So when you see a store, they look and you can see that they clearly copied what they were doing. Now, that's fine. They're both two major corporations, two world forces. They've both changed all of our lives. We all interact with what they do on some level every day, practically. But it's an obvious bite. Like, you had these tables. You didn't do that before they did it, right? So I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing. But what I want to present to you is, can you find some evidence in the marketplace of what you would like to do? Is there something, some company, someone that's out and they're doing something that inspires you? There's a couple of people, several people recently that I've just come across and encountered, and they have just lit me on fire watching what they're doing. But I'm not watching what they're doing so that I can do exactly what they're doing. I'm watching what they're doing because it's touching me in a way that's inspiring me to try to identify those things in myself and what I can offer that makes people feel the way they make me feel. So I'm not trying to do what they're doing, but I'm going, I'm analyzing and looking to see, dissecting to see what exactly are they doing? What is making me this excited? How can I use the principles that I see them using and apply that to what I'm doing so I can get a similar result? So maybe that's it. Instead of trying to compare yourself to see how you measure up, and oftentimes comparison can lend to us negatively, creating a negative impression of our own selves and making us feel like we're left out, we're less than, we're missing out. But if we are looking for, I think, inspiration, look for motivation, look for what you see that you think is working and pick the elements out that you want to use, right? So comparing so that you can note the similarities and the dissimilarities. So having differences is not a bad thing. And so oftentimes we talk in the marketing world about writing a position statement. Where do you fit, right? But you don't know where you fit if you haven't done any analysis, if you haven't looked around, just observation, right? So that's the first step. So the second one is to survey. And this made me think of surveyors in construction, SURVEYORS. I know nothing about construction as a field, but that was the first thing that came to my mind. And I thought about the people, we see them in traffic when they're looking through whatever they're looking through. I have no idea of what they're doing, but I did a quick Google search and I looked up the word, and really it means to investigate and to examine. And I was like, okay, that's good. So the first step is analysis. You want to look around and pick and choose and find like tidbits that inspire and help you and direct you and give you ideas of how you want to kind of craft this, your own company's DNA, right? But then when we get to the second step, surveying, we get a little more in depth. You are investigating, you are digging, you are examining, you are researching, and you are gathering data and information. So that's a little different. The first step is more about inspiration, and the second step is more about information, where you want to find out, okay, what's out here, what's possible. That's how I decided that I wanted to have a branding agency. I didn't do it on purpose. It actually came to me, but I was researching and digging and looking into something else. And then all of a sudden, this thing comes up in the internet that shows me that there is an animal called a branding agency, and it just lit me on fire. I was like, that is me. And I think that's what I need you to do. I need you to look in the marketplace, look for evidence of who you really want to be as an entrepreneur. Like, because I think we can look at successful people and successful companies and say, yeah, I want to be like that. Oh, this is what you need to do to be successful in this space like this person. And I think that's okay. But if you really want to engineer your own corporate DNA, I think you got to dig deeper. You have to ask more pressing, more probing questions. You got to use a few more brain cells, and it may be really difficult, and it might feel difficult. But as you start finding evidence in the marketplace, then it's going to light you up and get you excited and give you the energy that you need to press through the stuff that's hard. Because what's happening is your vision may be clouded, or you don't have a big enough vision. So then when something comes against your dream or your idea, what you're trying to accomplish, it's easier to give up, to retreat, to resort to doing what you've always done, because you haven't, the vision itself is not clear enough for you. It's not vivid, right? And so when you go through this step, you take the first step, I think, is little light, the analysis. I'm just looking for evidence. It's kind of like the vision board stage, right? You're just finding stuff you like, pulling it together and going, okay, I like this. Like, you're just gathering stuff. When you get to the surveying stage, now you're going to dig in. Like, exactly what did they do? How long? I told you about Toby Wigwe last week, and I have been digging into his stuff for weeks now. Since I started stalking him online. No, since I discovered him, I have been reading and looking and watching every possible thing I could, investigating. I'm watching the full interviews of him and his wife and his producer, and listening to how they interact and the stories that they tell and how they got from one step to the other. Like, I am investigating, and I'm examining. I'm doing more information. I've researched. I've gone online and Googled and found more things, and that is not stalking. But so that's surveying, though, and the data that you gather when you do that. Not just on one company or one person. You need to find multiple resources to just really inform, to ignite your senses. That's what you want to do. You want to come alive so that your company can come alive. And what's happening, oftentimes we get caught in the day-to-day responsibilities and activities and demands that customers put on us, and clients, what they want from us, that you lose sight. You lose sight of who you are. You lose sight of, like, why am I doing this? What is going on? And sometimes you need to put your head down and just go through the storm, whatever it is, and suck it up. But there are other times when those things come because they're trying to, like the song, God is trying to tell you something. That pressure is coming against you because sometimes it's trying to get you to the place where you want to go by making you uncomfortable enough to make a decision to change. So anyway, that I don't know if that's this is a sweet, kind, motivational message, but the bottom line is this second step. You got to dig. You got to look harder. You got to ask more probing questions. You got to ask follow-up questions. And those questions you may just be asking of yourself, but you've got Googling, just digging. What else can you find? Going through, digging deep into the social media accounts, figuring out, really reading some of the reviews and seeing, okay, what kinds of problems are the customers having? How is this company dealing with that? Like, you've got to dig. You've got to investigate. So that's step 2. Step 3 is then you have to, it's about background. Like, so first stage is analysis, second is survey, and the third is background. So you want to take all the information that you've gotten and that you even know about your own self, about your company, what you're trying to accomplish, and you have to interpret your findings to summarize your experience, your capabilities, your results, your challenges, like you gotta get a history that you can, and really all of that information is gonna help you to describe yourself, right? The hardest thing in the world to do when I ask somebody, well, give me your bio. Who wants to write a bio? That's like pulling your fingernails off one at a time, right? It's so difficult to do, but you have to gather information so you can have words and a language that you can use to describe yourself. Because if you can't describe yourself, no one else can. If you can't tell me what your company does, what you're trying to accomplish, why I should care, no one else will be able to. Now, you can get advice and you can pay people and you can spend enough money for somebody to figure it all out for you. But then, is what they create really going to reflect you? So there's a certain amount of work we have to do. We can get professionals. That's what we do as an agency. We help push our clients' messaging and everything farther than they can take it themselves. But they have to have something inside of themselves that we can build on. Otherwise, we're just creating it for you. And in some cases, that's what you might want. You might not care about all that. You might have enough money to invest and build and set everything up and get this machine going. But what I want to present to you is, in the long run, if that's what you care about, in the long run, you're going to develop a much more profitable company. It's going to be more stable. It's going to be a better environment to work in. Your customers are going to become your promoters. They're going to be the ones that help you get the message out. Now your word of mouth is gone viral, instead of you having to everything having to be centered around you and your relationship and what you can create. You can build, if you engineer your corporate DNA, you can build a corporation that functions separate as a separate human entity away from you, and it can thrive and grow. What did Google say? It can develop, survive, and reproduce without you. I think that's the money shot. Because then you could be doing whatever you want and still prospering and thriving and impacting the lives of others in a positive way at every step in the game. So, analysis, survey, and background. Then the next one is motivations. What you want to do is you want to identify what is the thing that makes you move. Now, if you're talking about your company, if you're talking about a corporation, what is the thing that drives this company? What makes the company get up every day? What makes the company excited? I like this. What gets your blood boiling? What makes you angry? What are you against? What are you completely not here for? Right? Because typically we're more passionate about the things we don't like, about the things we hate, than the things we love. Unfortunately, we have to switch that, right? We got to re-engineer our DNA so that we're functioning on what the thing that just lights us up, turns us on, and ignites your soul. That's where we want to get to. I call that living your life at play. So I want to help you get to the point where you're living your life at play, where you are working hard, but you are thriving, you're producing. Yes, develop, thrive, and reproduce without me. Katrina said, yes, please. That's what we need. But we have to engineer our corporate DNA so that we can build companies that will do that for us and for the people that are working with us. So motivations, what gets your blood boiling? What are you afraid of? Right? If your company is a person, what is your company afraid of? So, we got all these corporations now that are talking about sustainability of the environment. Maybe you're afraid that we're going to kill so many animals that we completely or kill so many trees that we completely eliminate our oxygen supply, right? And so because of that, because of that motivation, then that informs how you do your business. So what are the motivations? And just think about the word motive. So your motive, what is the thing that gets you moving, that gets you up, that gets you excited? And that's the place you're operating from on a daily basis. And sometimes when we examine that for ourselves, examine your motivations. What's your motivation for even building a business, right? So if your motivation is so that you can live at ease in Zion and travel the world and do whatever you want to do, you have got to create instructions for your business that actually make that possible. You can't function as a mom and pop sole proprietor and expect that you're going to get that if that's your motivation. If your motivation is to develop a family of people that you can build with day in and day out, then you got to engineer the instructions, write the instructions that you need for your company to be able to create that. How do you attract team members? How do you incentivize them? How do you develop them? How do you deploy them? That has got to be the beginning of that comes from your motivations, for you understanding fully what are they. Okay. Then the next thing is the description. So typically what we try to do is, I was going through this, what I realized is what we usually try to do is we try to define a persona or create an avatar based on all of these things before or without even doing any of the other things. So that's what makes the whole process difficult. If you analyze, you compare and note similarities and dissimilarities, if you survey, you investigate and examine, and then measure the data that you've received, if you then interpret the findings of that data to summarize your experience, your capabilities, your interests, all those things, and then you identify the motivations, the things that make you move, what makes your blood boil. If you do all of that, then it's going to be easier to create a description. And I thought about it. If you have somebody in a lineup, how can your company be picked out in a lineup, right? If you think about people looking for services, when you do a Google search and the results are returned, you are basically there's a lineup of companies and and links, right? And can you stand out in that lineup? And the way you stand out in that lineup is the description, which, we marketers call metadata, right? The metadata that shows up is a specific title, a specific description. Sometimes we can see pictures, right? But the bottom line is there's something in that causes that whatever you choose to stand out. But somebody has engineered that. That's not by chance. And have you ever clicked on that, read something, said, yes, this is what I want. You click on it. And then when you get there, it's different. That's because somebody has engineered, they've written the instructions and created the messaging that they need to get you to click. So Google doesn't like it when it's totally different. It has no relevance at all. So it wouldn't be up in that top page if it didn't have some relevance. But my point is, you need to be able to stand out. So you have to describe your business in a way that helps it to stand out. And if you think about your business, if you become a profiler, right? If you profile your own business and you start identifying the physical characteristics, what does it look like? I think you really even need to imagine a person. This is going to be easy. This is going to be a project that I'm going to go through with my team. That we're going to design and define what does Adam Red look like, right? When I came up with this name, my brother, I ran it by him because he's the ultimate critic, but delightful. And I said, he said, I like it. I like the name, but I'm wondering why a woman would design her company, right? Or would name her company after a man. And so people are always asking me, who is Adam Red? And that's, if you go to my website, it's kind of one of our campaigns, like, who is Adam Red? And I think as a team, we're going to get together and define, what does Adam Red look like? Who is he? Right? Because when we do that, that's going to help us to inform how our messaging and the instructions that we use to create, so that we can produce, so that we can present ourselves effectively in the marketplace, so that we can stand out in the crowd. That's why you see the crowd picture and all of that in all of our messaging, because we are a branding agency wanting to help you figure out how to stand out in the crowd. It says on there, your brand should be as unique as you are. So if your brand is unique, you should be able to describe the qualities that make it unique. And this is actually, I think when you really start digging in and getting involved and engaged in it, it can be really fun. So instead of getting all flustered because you can't answer right off the top of your head, I think you just commit yourself to the process, to analyze, to survey, to look at your background, to determine your motivations, and then to write a description. Develop a description. Even if you have to go, we do vision boards, and that I was mentioning that you could possibly use the vision board process in the first stage, but you could go on to Pinterest and start finding, like, I love looking at fashion and all kinds of stuff, men's fashion, jewelry, everything on Pinterest. And you could go start looking for male models, female models, like people that you feel like embody what your brand really looks like. Now, you don't have to use that publicly for anything, but you can use that to help you create this description that can start informing everything you're doing, to help you engineer your corporate DNA. That sounds like fun to me. The more I talk about it. So you want to look at, when we want to create the description, your physical characteristics, your emotional disposition, the emotional disposition of your company. Like, you got to think about it. I worked not for very long, but at one point, I think I was in college. I worked during the summer for this insurance company. Oh, if I had to describe the emotional disposition of that company, it would be cold. It was cold. It was dry. It was humorless. Like, it was terrible. It was terrible for a creative, right? But if I have a much steadier personality, and I need more structure and systems and sameness, right? Then that could have been, that emotional disposition may be perfect. And it may be perfect for what you need to do. So I think trying to be like the Apple, there was a famous, I'm making it sound like it's so long ago, but there was a time, you might remember it, when JCPenney had a new CEO, and he was somebody who had come from Apple. And now this story is being used in marketing schools, MBA programs, to talk about why it's important to stay in touch with your audience, because he came in just totally changing everything about the personality of JCPenney, trying to modernize it, really taking some of the things that he had learned, much of the things that he had learned from Apple, and really trying to transform everything about it, the way the stores looked. It was lovely to me. I thought it was fabulous, but it really crashed and burned. And I think he tried to change it too much, too drastically, for the people who were already coming there. So when you talk about the emotional disposition, he's bringing in this fresh, modern, free, very creative environment into the retail space. And the customers were not emotionally able to handle that big of a change, right? So emotional disposition. Then the other piece is favorites. So if your company was a person, what kind of music would they listen to? What kind of colors would they like? How would they dress? Would they be the t-shirt and jeans kind of thing? Would they be the highest of fashion? Would they be like, how would they dress? Would they dress for a warm climate, a slow? I mean, just how? Like, I think really digging into those details would really help. And because when you think about a crime scene profiler, they're trying to figure out what is the psychological makeup of this person? Where are they likely to live? What kinds of places are they probably going to go? All of that factors in to the description. The other piece is kind of what's their unique behavioral profile and style. How would they typically behave in your environment, or how do you want your company to behave in the company of your clients, of your customers, right? Do you want it to be really high tech, hands off, like no contact, just communication through email and like a lot of the apps that we use every day? That's how they function. And the only human real contact we might get is through a live chat in most of those instances. Or they might be trying to connect us with other people like us so we can all help each other solve our problems. How fabulous is that? So how smart is it on their part? Because then they don't have to pay people to do all of that. So all of that, what's their unique behavioral profile? How is you want this company to function in the marketplace, in front of people, in company, in relationship, right? Think about all the relationships that you have, like whether they are platonic, their family, whatever, the romantic. What about the dynamics of those relationships? What is good? What don't you like? What do you like? And how can you recreate the things that you like in your business, in the DNA of your company? And then the last thing is friends. Like who would Adam Red hang out with, right? What kinds of people would be in his life? Think of the show Friends. Think of all the girlfriends, all the sidekicks, all those kinds of shows, all the groups of people they put together. What kinds of people would your company hang out with? What are other personalities would they be likely to attract? And I bet you, as you start gathering all this information, you will be able to track that too easily. Maybe the friends are the customers that you're trying to attract, right? Look, I don't know about you, but that's exciting. I think that's a fun way to look at it, to basically become a profiler, so that you can engineer your corporate DNA so that you can stand out in a crowd. So you can determine how you will be recognized. How do you want to show up? I have a friend that, actually several people come to mind that basically, no, I'll talk about myself. I think when I was younger and I was a single parent and money was super, super tight and I was just creating magic with nothing, creating bricks with no straw. But when I was doing that kind of defined who I was and how I functioned and how I showed up, because I didn't dress the way I really wanted to, and I still really don't dress exactly the way I want to, but I'm closer now. But back then I remember that I used to be defined, like how I dressed, how I showed up was defined by the money I had or what I did. And what I wish that I understood back then a little sooner was, it doesn't matter how much money I have. I can show up the way I want to show up now. I don't have to wait until I have tens of thousands of dollars for this dream wardrobe, because I can make a decision one article of clothing at a time to decide how I want to show up. And I can start crafting and framing this vision for my wardrobe now. I don't have to wait. And so I think that's the kind of thing I want you to do. I don't want you to wait until you have all the money, wait until you have all the clients, wait until you have all the products figured out. I want you to start engineering your company DNA now, so that you can start walking in that. It can start informing how it is that you function. Whew, that's it. That's all I got for you tonight. Thank you so much. Y'all been quiet, but I hope that means that you're thinking and that it's helping you. So once again, I want you to make sure that you follow at Gwen Fuchsias on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube so that we can connect there. And please share the link with your friends. I heard folks doing watch parties. Do some watch parties and let me know what you think. Help me understand what is speaking to you, what you need more of. And so, because we're going to be developing, because this truly is about helping you develop personally and professionally and to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing. Because we are out here all hustling, trying to build and do great things, and we need each other to do it. And I need to be trying to help you do it. You know, you teach. If you want to learn something, you teach it. So I'm teaching thank you that my honey said that it was content rich tonight. So thank you. But you know, if I try to teach you, that means it's helping me to learn. So when you have a question, I've got to use all my energy and strength to try to provide you with the best answer to actually help you. And then that causes me to grow too. So let's do this together. All right. I want to thank you so much once again for joining. Come back next Wednesday, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and tell your folks, tell your people about it. And because they need to be picking up what I'm putting down. Signing out. Let's make it vivid. Bye-bye.